A deal is at hand if Republicans in Congress will tune out the Tea Party voices that are shouting down any compromise.
All right, this time before Mike, he knew it was on. Anyway, Congressman Steve King, I think Senator Schumer is talking about you. You were out there with those Tea Parties today. What do you think?
Well, I think there's a lot of energy out there. It reflects a lot of the energy that's across the country. I'm so grateful that the Tea Party groups, the constitutional conservatives, have stepped up to defend the liberty of Americans in a responsible fashion. This $61.5 billion is not a very big bite out of this budget. And if we can't do this, we're not going to be able to march through the 2012 appropriations process and do the real cuts that we have to do that will come and flow from Paul Ryan's budget as he rolls it out next week.
All right, we're told that will be a very big cut budget in terms of substantial numbers and programs slapped. But this is just a continuation of an old budget that, as you know, sir, wasn't a budget. So we're just wrapping up the 4 or 5 months of the year. And the argument is you guys are making a needless stink out of it. What do you say?
Well, first, what's really happened, I think, when I listened to Senator Schumer, I actually burst out laughing because it was so predictable. About several weeks ago, I finally came to the conclusion on what was so uneasy about why the Democrats agreed to a continuing resolution during the lame duck session last December that extended the funding of the government until March 4th of this year, which is why, of course, we're in this fix that we're in. And they've convinced me finally that their strategy probably concluded in December was to shut down the government and blame it on Republicans. And what has happened is John Boehner has turned the tables and made it clear that Republicans are committed to keeping this government open, but we aren't committed to irresponsible spending.
All right, then explain that. Here's what I need to know, Congressman, just to get my ducks in order, understand where you guys are coming from. You're saying in order to keep this going, at least $61 billion in cuts, which is sort of like the Republicans' drop-dead figure. They're, I guess, Democrats, the latest figure, and it depends on where the cuts are, maybe $32 billion. If it isn't 61, you're a no, you're okay with the government essentially shutting down.
Well, I have a couple of other principles that are really important, and cutting off all the funding to Obamacare is more important than the dollar figure. But I think, Neil, we should think of this dollar figure that the Democrats came up with as this. $61.5 billion is what the House sent over there. They divided it in half and rounded it up.
Right.
That's how they got there.
No, you're right about that. No, you're exactly right about that. But, Congress, what I'm asking here is, last time they had this continuing resolution, this extension to keep the government limping along for another few weeks, and it's going to be up next week, was 56 Republicans, including yourself, angry enough to say, no, this is ridiculous. It's going to come up again, and it's not going to be that $61 billion. That's just my read, sir. I could be wrong. How many more of you vote no?
It is significantly a larger number, and I don't know that, Neil, and I hate to guess on it because I don't have a very informed piece. The whip check will know, and that will be their guideline on how they negotiate. But my conclusion is this, that to get the votes to pass a CR, there's going to have to be negotiations with the conservatives in the Republican conference and the House of Representatives. And my stand is on Obamacare. I said today at the rally out in the park, and I've said it to my colleagues in private as well, that if they decide to stand and fight on $61.5 billion, I'll stand and fight with them. If Mike Pence says he wants to stand and fight on no funding to Planned Parenthood, I'll stand and fight with him. But I will stand and fight on Obamacare.
Isn't that mixing the message, though, Congressman? I'm sorry, but isn't that mixing the message?
Yeah.
Your Planned Parenthood views notwithstanding, the health care thing notwithstanding, the battle right now is on just the total amounts, hacking a lot of that spending, and then saving the battle royale for the 2012 budget that I guess Congressman Ryan, Budget Committee Chairman Ryan, brings next week. That's what the leadership seems to be saying. You seem to be saying otherwise.
Yeah, and I disagree with that. I've made this point since last summer that we shut off all funding to Obamacare in every appropriations bill, but there are two maximum leverage points in this 112th Congress, this CR and the debt ceiling. And this CR, if it gets past us and we're still funding Obamacare, there's not going to be a leverage point to cut that funding off. Billions will be spent to implement an unconstitutional law, and that's $2.6 trillion in outlays in the first full 10 years. It is the most important thing in this entire debate.
All right, here's what I'm saying. Here's my prediction. This government is going to shut down, isn't it?
It looks like it, and it looks like the president, if things fall together the way I see them, will have to make a decision on whether he loves his signature piece of legislation more than all of the legitimate functions of government combined. The American people will, in the end, side with us on that decision, Neil, and the court of public opinion will determine who wins if Democrats force a shutdown.
All right, well, you're not invited to the Chuck Schumer holiday party, so there. Congressman, thank you very much. Good seeing you again.
Thank you, Neil. I appreciate it.
All right, in the meantime, hear him?